What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Existential Stoic Podcast. This is a quick fix. Today, we're going to talk about being more optimistic. I'm Danny. I'm here with my buddy Randy.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, Randy. So this is a quick fix. It's a short, 10 minutes or less episode. We're each going to give you guys three suggestions for how to be more optimistic. But first, why do we want to be more optimistic?
Well, it
That
beats the
sounds
pants
stupid,
off
right?
of being. I was going to say it beats the pants off of being pessimistic. That's for
It
sure.
does, really, right?
Yeah. I remember there was. I think it was a. It wasn't Zig Ziglar. It was a. Oh, okay. Well, anyways, I'll think of it later in the episode. But basically, Norman Vincent Peale. He was saying how you need to just be much more optimistic, and then you realize that the times that you're being realistic, you're actually just being pessimistic.
Yeah, it's true, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's my hosting, so I'm going to go first. The first one I think we mentioned this a billion times, but it's really just the small delights exercise. So to increase positivity, because that helps with optimism. And so the basic idea of this is just becoming more aware of the small pleasures, small delights in life. So at the end of the day, take 5 minutes, jot down 3, and do it every day. And we've both seen such good results from this, where you just become more aware of small pleasures all around you, and it makes you happier and more optimistic, I think. Very much so. I can say that with a fact because I do it.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie and you see somebody curled up in a nook with a cup of coffee and a book, and you're like, oh, it looks so good. Doing the small delights is kind of like that, because at the end of the day, you can kind of sit down and actually savor those moments that you had throughout the day, not to mention the time during the day when you're actually enjoying them.
I like that visualization too, because I'm always like, oh, it does look nice. Like you're just chilling, right? Reading, so comfortable. And it's a perfect way to look at it. Yeah. What's your first one?
All right. So my first one would be practice finding the silver lining. So this is a habit to develop. It'll help you become more optimistic, but in every situation, good or bad, find the silver lining, because guaranteed there is some silver lining in the situation. And so it's kind of like the Pollyanna effect, trying to find what the good is. And then the better you become at that, the easier it'll be. And then the things that normally might have fazed you before, you'll be like, but think of the good things.
I really like that too, because so often I think we let our emotions, we get angry, we get stressed, and that causes us to look at something in a very skewed way. And by doing this, you're practicing really looking at the situation for what it is, I think. And that's a great idea, because there's always something, you can always find something positive, whether it's just that this is a challenge, I'll get through it, and then I can do that again later, and I'll be better equipped to deal with these things. I like that. Good one.
Yeah.
My second one is, so be present, slow down. So that what I had in mind here is, we're distracted so often. I think, it can be really helpful, and it can help with optimism to just schedule time to spend with friends and family where you're not distracted. You're not on social media. You're giving yourself a chance to just slow down and focus on your life, the things around you that matter, what you value. And I think that really can help us with our mindset and being optimistic, because we're also reducing those negative inputs of and allowing ourselves to get worked up over these things that don't really matter.
Yeah, I like what you say with reducing the negative inputs in terms of being present, because I've noticed in my own life, there's so many distractions, there's so many notifications on, even though I have most notifications turned off on my phone. There's always badges on there, and there's always emails, and there's always this and that. And it's taking the time to slow down. I actually am noticing which things are triggering me. Instead of feeling bad and thinking I'm feeling bad, I feel bad, and then I realize, oh, that's because of that email. What was said there, I felt bad. Okay, I can let that go and go back to feeling good. So
nice.
I think that's an important one, definitely.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Cool. So my next one would be perspective. And so I'd like to, there's a really good book called Factfulness, where basically the guy takes a look, our general perception of the world is kind of off. Anybody who's listening to this podcast is pretty much in the top tier of the world. If you have electricity, something to cook your food, a bed, and running water, you're really living life. And it's this lack of perspective that's causing a lot of issues in life. Not only perspective in terms of like thinking that we need to have more, but also perspective in the time and what we can accomplish in our life. So this perspective in our life, I think that really matches up well with optimism to allow you to be more optimistic. Because if you have the perspective that, hey, I may not be where I want to be right now, but I have this opportunity to do it in my future, boom, there you go, optimistic, done.
I like that too, though, because it's also like, you know, being more aware too of how we're sort of judging ourselves, which are so often those negative judgments that will cause pessimism, right? And so being more aware of how we're judging ourselves correctly, that is definitely a way towards optimism. I like that one a lot. That's really helpful.
Yeah,
You
and
know, so
realizing
often
that
that's
you
yeah, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
realizing that you've already won. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, if you're alive, you've already won. 99% of the people who ever lived on the planet are dead. If you're alive, you already won. Like, that's it. That's
And there's more.
perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, it's funny too. We all beat ourselves up too and lower our confidence and stuff, and then we're unwilling to do other things. And it's like, well, that's just you're just making it. You just make it worse. It's a vicious cycle, right? So I think that's a yeah, it's a good one because you want to raise yourself up, not beat yourself down. Um, my last one is actually pretty. I mean, I think straightforward. It's just exercise. I think we sometimes it's easy to let ourselves just we want to relax, we want to be lazy. Just taking a walk, exercising your mind. It's funny, but using that energy, I think, is crucial to also feeling good and being optimistic. You see that you're able to do these things. You're also giving yourself time to actually, just, kind of do something, right? And be alive. And I think that's really helpful for being optimistic.
definitely. Yeah, even just forcing yourself to go for a 5-minute walk, like
Yeah.
that change of location just makes such a big difference. And I notice that oftentimes all over in my life where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like going for a walk. I'm in a bad mood. Blah. And then I'm just like, just go. And I go, and then I come back and I'm just like, oh my gosh, life is so awesome. This is great. So it's like
It's amazing, isn't
harnessing,
it?
yeah, harnessing the good brain drugs that come naturally through, going outside, exercising, all that fun stuff.
Getting out of our artificial environments, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my last one for being more optimistic is look at past examples of when things turned out. So we're pessimistic because we don't have the things we want right now, or the situation didn't turn out how we wanted it to. But if we look at past examples, like the things that we have now are things that at one time we wanted and we got them. And oftentimes those situations in the past that turned out not how we wanted them, it was actually better for us. So kind of looking back in our history, in our past to see, you know what, this is probably going to turn out pretty well anyways. So let's just start enjoying it now.
I like that too, because we all have stuff in our lives we can look back to that can help us understand or put in perspective the present moment, right? And we forget that so often too, because again, it's like we talked about that too with comparisons, right? If you're always comparing yourself to others, you're always going to lose. But if you're comparing yourself to yourself, you're pretty much always probably winning or doing better, right, than you were. And it's a good sort of way to look at things and keep yourself, I think, focused on optimism. Like, hey, I'm doing well. I'm doing all right. I have these things right. I can overcome this. I got it in the past. Great.
Yeah.
I like that
Yeah,
one.
you can't connect the dots looking forward, and you never really know if something is good or bad. Like I'm always reminded of that Zen story where there was the farmer and his son, and a horse came in, or no, the cow died, and the farmer went to a Zen master and he's like, this is terrible. And the Zen master's like, oh, maybe good, maybe bad. And then they found a horse and that was great. And but the son broke his leg good or bad. I mean, basically everything that happened, it's like good or bad because we never really know.
Well, and,
And
and it's ne- and it's also not like objective, right? It depends on our interpretation of it. So if it's not objective, it could theoretically be either. You just have to decide. And I think that's where optimism comes in, right? It's choosing the good.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a choice. Yeah, and
it is.
I mean, believe it or not, you're going to attract the things you want in life. So attract the good or attract the bad.
Oh, I
Up
think
to
that's so
you.
true. Yeah, really.
Hmm.
All right, so that's being more optimistic. Hope you guys found this was quick pick 24. Quick pick 24. Sorry, a short episode. If you guys are checking us out on YouTube, please click notifications, subscribe, share. This helps us out a lot. If you're listening to us on a podcast, please subscribe and share. We'll be back next week with a full-length episode. Until then, though, later, Randy.
Bye, Danny.
Peace.